All right, the off season in college basketball is here. Players are moving all over the country, but some are gearing up for comebacks. And we are going to talk to one of those young women today, right here on Locked On Women's Basketball.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.
Happy Monday and happy May Day, friends. It is May 1st, 2023. Happy to be back here on a Monday with all of you. I am Missy Heidrick, National Women's Basketball Correspondent at The Next. And thank you for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. Now, you've got to make sure to follow everybody on Twitter and get over to The Next Tubes at www.thenexttubes.com. Follow this podcast as well on Twitter at Locked On WBB. We've got you covered all across the board. All right, you would be hard-pressed to find an athletic department that has had a better year than one of the ones right in the middle of the country, Kansas State in the Big 12. It was a Big 12 championship in football, a top 10 ranked men's basketball season, and just announced today they've got a top 25 baseball team. But we all know that it's really about the people that make that happen, coaches and student athletes. And more importantly, one of the most well-known Wildcats out there anywhere right now didn't step onto the court this season, but she is gearing up for a big-time comeback. She's a three-time All-Big 12 first-team selection, an All-American, 2022 Lisa Leslie Award finalist, and an academic All-American to boot. I am so happy to be joined today right here by redshirt senior from Kansas State, Ayoka Lee, on Locked On Women's Basketball. Yoki, how are you, my dear?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, good. And okay, I want to give full disclosure to everyone. There's two things for those that are that listen and watch Locked On Women's Basketball. They know me as a host. That I am a Kansas State alum. That is where I played. So I am a proud K-Stater. Also, Yoki and I share the fact that we were both born and raised in the state of Minnesota. She's from Byron, Minnesota, and I was raised in Rochester, Minnesota. So we are both northern kids that landed in the middle of America after a while. But we're going to talk about this journey that you have had over the course of the last probably maybe year or so as last season finished, that 21-22 year. Shockwaves really were sent through the women's basketball world when it was announced that you were going to be sitting out this past season for medical reasons. I know it's been quite a journey for you over the course of the past year, and I know that it's not foreign to you because you've done this before. But can you just talk a little bit about what entailed some of those decisions, where you landed this time a year ago, and what that has been like for you going through all of this?
Yeah, it's crazy to hear kind of you reflecting on just the timeline and that it was a year ago, kind of going through having these conversations. But obviously after the last season I played, there are just a lot of conversations I had to have with our trainers and coaches just about where my knee was and what treatment would look like going forward and just like what was going on there. So we were able to meet with doctors, trainers, coach committee and stuff. And the outcome that came from all of that was that I had to have surgery just to make my knee better, just that it wasn't sustainable and I wasn't capable of playing another collegiate season the way that it was. So it was definitely a lot of tough conversations. Telling my teammates was probably the hardest one, just because I love, doing my day with them, doing all the hard things, doing the preseason workouts, all that stuff. And knowing that I wasn't going to be on the floor, embracing the suck with them was a hard conversation to have. Yeah.
And for those of that don't know, you actually came to college in a rehab situation as well, having torn your ACL at the end of your high school senior season, coming to Kansas State, taking that redshirt year. So again, rehab and this process, not a foreign thing to you, but it is incredibly difficult. And as you get older and as your body wears down more, I think the level of what that looks like becomes even more difficult. And it's not at all an easy thing, both physically and mentally. So if you kind of reflect back, maybe even some of those early days after some of your surgeries and those decisions, how did, as you kind of thought about that, what kept you focused? Because you can be really tough and it's really painful as well.
Mm. Yeah, that's a great question. Um, I think one of the biggest differences from my first rehab to this one is I'm just much more established.
Mhm.
In Manhattan, I have a bigger support system. I have friends outside of basketball, all that stuff. So I think a big part of staying focused was, those people, my support system, my teammates coming to visit me, being able to go on the team retreat, even though the managers have to take everything I need for rehab with. Yeah, just the willingness of people in my circle to help me and help take care of me. Those early weeks was huge. Yeah, and then also just knowing that my knee was gonna feel better, eventually, knowing that, the non-weight bearing wasn't gonna last forever, and walking and everything that came after that would feel better than it did prior to surgery.
Yeah, there's something to said about actually not walking around every day feeling such
Yeah.
pain. I mean, that and it can
Yeah.
brighten your load in all aspects. And I think, and we hear so much these days, especially in college athletics, and we're talking so much more about mental health. We're talking about people
Mhm.
being healthy in all facets of their life. So when you are not necessarily participating, you're sitting on the outside looking in. Those can be some of those painful, dark days as well.
Mhm.
What allowed you to not necessarily get wallowed in that, but be able to keep your spirits up and feel like you were in
Mm.
a good space the majority of the time?
Yeah, I think one thing that I'm very thankful for is just the importance that K-State puts on mental health and just the resources that they have available to us. Um, so I think I was very intentional about making sure that I um, just was able, like, just mindful of how my role would change
Mhm.
and mindful of what I was doing to still feel like I was connected to, like, my teammates. Whether that was, shooting them a text after a really hard practice or, um, like, just make tuning in on one teammate, and just trying to help them in whatever way they need, but also making sure that I was taking time to myself, and really reflecting on, okay, what am I learning from this
Mhm.
part of rehab? And there's a lot of pressure that comes along with playing college athletics. So also knowing that this time won't last forever, and just to take advantage of, like, the break of not having to,
Yeah.
like, perform every night and not feeling that pressure.
No, that's I can feel
Yeah.
that for you. Can you think back maybe the first time in this rehab process when you
Mhm.
got to do like basketball stuff? When was that? And what did you
Yeah.
get to do? What was some of the first things they
Yeah.
let you do?
It was actually very recently. This rehab process is very long.
Uh-huh.
So, 2 weeks ago, I got to start stationary shooting for our spring workouts. Yeah, and it was really fun. Just got to shoot without leaving the ground.
Uh-huh.
But still, bending my knees, follow through all that good stuff. So, yeah, it was really fun. And yeah, excited to build off of that.
When you as you looked at this, there's a lot of factors that go into making a decision for a quote unquote comeback. And
Mhm.
so when you did that evaluation, what really went into that decision for you? What do you think was that motivator to say, you know what, I want to come back?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I've never been someone who likes to do things halfway.
Okay.
Um, which is a strength, but I think also, can be a weakness if I'm not, mindful of my capacity. But
Uh-huh.
I have absolutely loved my time here at K-State. And it didn't like I did not have peace or contentment about like ending it with like not playing. I
Mhm.
want to um this next year, I want to be at my best in a way that I can give like everything I have for my last season. And I think that was probably the biggest motivator. I didn't want to just end it halfway, knowing that like my body wasn't the best that it could have been.
Mhm. No, that makes total sense. Well, it sounds like you have some unfinished business. So we're going to talk
Yeah.
about that in just a moment. We're going to
Okay.
dive in to what it's been like this year, maybe sitting on the outside watching, but then also going back. She had a record setting day in 2022, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But first, a message for everyone out there from our friends at Prize Picks. All right, so how does this work? Well, you go into Prize Picks, you pick 2 to 6 players, and if they will go score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. It's the NBA playoff time. So the NBA is in there. The WNBA is coming. It could be MLB. It could be the NHL playoffs. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. And every day of the NBA playoffs/finals, one Prize Picks user will win a chance at becoming a millionaire. Yes, we said a millionaire. One entry placed after 8 a.m. Eastern will be randomly selected each day, or whoever placed that entry will be given a 6-pick flex with the following payouts. 6 correct picks, you get you $1 million. 5 correct picks, $80,000. 4 correct picks, $16,000. Full details can be found at prizepicks.com/million, and you must opt in at this link to be eligible for the $1 million entry. Once you opt in, all you got to do is play the game like normal, and you could be the lucky winner. So you need to go to prizepicks.com or to the Prize Picks app and download it to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code locked on. You deposit 100, Prize Picks will give you 100. You deposit 50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code locked on to sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Hi, everybody. I am Missy Heidrick, and thanks for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen every day. For our everydayers, tomorrow on the show, more women's basketball coverage with Howard Megdal. He will be here. All right. I am so happy to be joined today by All-American redshirt senior Ayoka Lee from Kansas State. This young woman averages a career double-double. The numbers speak for themselves: 19.1 points per game, 10.2 boards per game. You take that out of a lineup, and that changed things for this Kansas State squad this season. But Yoki, as you sit here today, you had a very unique perspective, I think, of this past season. You watched the year in practice, you watched the games from the bench. What did you see from your teammates on the floor? Because this team looked a lot different than what I think people obviously expected it to look had you had been there.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing I saw from my teammates was just their fight and their determination, and just being able to adapt to a whole new kind of style of play. Like Serena was really pushed out of her comfort zone to kind of make more things happen for herself and for the people on the floor with her. I think adding Gabby to our roster really helped lift us this season. And overall, I think we learned a lot that will help us so much next year.
Mhm. And as you think about that, do you think it helped you kind of moving forward, having to be more of a student of the game? Do you think you're going to approach things differently when you get back out on the floor?
Yeah, I think a big, I guess, thought going through my mind that will, I think, have an impact next year is just how, our guard and post play will maybe be a little bit more like fluid.
Hmm.
I think, because I think we have that capability now. I think our guards have worked a lot on being able to score mid range and inside the paint. So I think, yeah, I think I've definitely taken mental notes and just tried to see and imagine how things will work better next year
Hmm.
or be different.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Gabby Gregory. She came in last season as a transfer from Oklahoma. She is also coming back for another year, was a first team all Big 12 selection for Kansas State. So that will be two of those on the floor, quite a tandem with the two of you, I think, heading into next season. But I want to take you back to that record setting day. It was February 2022. Ironically, against Oklahoma at home and Bramlage Coliseum, you have 61 points. That performance, it drew a ton of attention, whether it was national media, basketball royalty, all across the country and across the world, really. But when you look back on it now, what stands out to you maybe about that day and about that
Mhm.
performance in itself?
Yeah, that's a good question. Looking back, honestly, it's just kind of crazy how normal of a day it felt like. Just a Sunday game. There's just something a little bit more like your whole day is focused around the game. Like you don't
Mhm.
have class, you don't have, other things going on because it's not during the week. So it was just kind of like another Sunday game until about 3 p.m. Um, so yeah, I think from the game what stood out, I just remember like really not even from the game, but just from the scout. Like I just remember transition D was the emphasis of that
Mhm.
scout the day before that Saturday. And like it was not an easy scout. Like it we were gonna have to work.
Mhm. Yeah.
But we were doing well in the scout and I think we executed phenomenally on Sunday. So I think what stands out to me most is just how like, it wasn't just like, a lot of other pieces had to be working for me to have the performance that I did. Um, so it's just yeah, we were rolling in every area, defense, offense. Yeah, it was great.
Well, it takes a lot to be able to get that done, but we always say that records are made to be broken. So can you
Mhm.
imagine this one being broken somewhere down the line?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of talented women's basketball players. So yeah, absolutely. And I think women's basketball just it continues to grow and just evolve.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't be surprised. It'd be crazy, but yeah, I think that'd be awesome. I mean, within like 3 years, one record just continues to get broken. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think it would say a lot about, as you said, the talent that is out there all across the country, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Okay, when we come back, we are going to find out more from Yoki what the next few months will bring for her, both on and off the court, as this comeback continues in Manhattan, Kansas. Hi, everybody. I am Missy Heidrick. Thank you so much for joining us here on Lockdown Women's Basketball. It is my pleasure to be able to have a chance to talk with fellow K-Stater Ayoka Lee, the redshirt senior. She is on the comeback trail, being out for the past season. Let's look ahead to the 23-24 year, the one that you are coming back for. What does your summer regimen, what is this going to look like for you to get back on the court when the season officially starts in November?
Yeah, a lot more rehab up until that point. Yeah, the recovery process is very long, and when you're not in it every day, I think it can be very easy, to forget that,
Mhm.
and even easy for me to forget that when I'm in it every day. Um,
Right,
but
right.
yeah, a lot more rehab. Yeah, a lot of eventually just individual workouts with coaches, just
Mhm,
trying to get back to refining a lot of those skills that I haven't been using for so
mhm,
long.
mhm.
Um, and hopefully it's just like riding a bike. Hopefully it comes back pretty seamlessly. But yeah, that's the quick version of yeah, what it'll be like.
Does that give you, I guess for a lot of people, as you think about that, when you have to take such time away from your craft, whatever that would be, I mean,
Mm,
whether it's basketball or, if it was someone who was a golfer or tennis player, there are certain things that are just so unique to each individual basketball player. I think shot form, I think footwork, things that just to you are second nature. But when you have to step away from it, it's going to take a little bit of time. Is there something, I mean, does that give you a little bit of angst to say, okay, I got to feel like
mm.
I can get this back, that I can, that I want to get back to the place where I was before so that you can perform at the level you have been?
Yeah, I think, hmm. Yeah, I think there's always as an athlete, I think there's always that fear of becoming complacent. Like no college athlete wants to be complacent. Um, and then, with that, I think it just comes down to looking at everything that's in my control,
Hmm.
and trusting, that my coaches, are giving me the right stuff to get there and them trusting me that and me like being holding myself accountable to just, being able to get it done. Um, yeah, I think from my first rehab, I definitely learned just the work ethic that comes with coming back to playing. And that's something that I definitely take a lot of pride in. Um, so yeah, I think there is always going to be that fear of that.
Hmm.
And I think that fear can be used to take action, to accomplish whatever goal that is in front of you.
Hmm. Yeah, everybody needs some motivation. So when you think about it, what
Yeah.
what are you looking what are you looking forward to the most? Thinking about,
Mm,
I mean, if you could, I know we're not supposed to wish time away, but if you could kind of fast forward and say,
yeah.
this is the thing that I'm looking forward to the most.
Hmm. Yeah, probably like just those first couple games. I
Uh-huh.
think those are it's just the most exciting time. I wish I could say I'm excited for preseason, but I think I'm
No
excited
one ever
for
is. No one
yeah.
ever is excited for the preseason. Come on.
Yeah,
We all know
and
that.
I
That is,
think
coaches like the preseason, players do not, okay?
right, right, and I think with how much the preseason sucks, it makes those first games so much sweeter. So,
There
I'm
you go.
excited for the sweetness that comes after all the tears of preseason.
I like that answer. I think that works exactly how it should be. Um,
Yeah.
One of those buzzwords that we hear all the time in college athletics, I know it's talked a lot about there at Kansas State, not only in your program, but just in general, is culture. And I
Mm.
know you've talked about that before. And as a leader and as a veteran of this Kansas State program, what do you want the culture of it to be for this going forward in this season in the present, but then also when you're done, when you leave Kansas State and say, you know what, this is something that I hope I've left my mark as the culture of what we want this program to be?
Yeah. I think what strive to help our culture look like, is just like to build a camaraderie within like the team, of just holding each other accountable and just having great work ethic. I think Kansas State has always been known to have players that just get after it and work hard. Even if we're not getting, the top recruits,
Mhm.
we know that the girls we do have are going to come in and get the job done. So I definitely think that is something that I try to just live out.
Mhm.
One thing I do love about our team culture that we've established is just having good relationships. I think that is like the first step in developing a good culture, because people aren't going to care what you have to say if they don't think you care about them.
Mhm.
So that is something I really take a lot of value in and take a lot of pride in. Um, yeah, yeah, I think just accountability,
Mhm.
um, hard work, and then just like embracing, like, if some hard doesn't mean bad. I think that is something that um, a lot of times in our just world outside of
Mhm.
college athletics, if something's hard, a lot of people are like, I don't want to do it.
Right.
But I think it can just be so fulfilling to do the hard things and see the results. And the results aren't promised, but just knowing you gave your best effort and just did it, I think is enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, that's kind of an old soul answer right there, my dear. So, I feel you. I understand. All right. So now, not only are a lot of your days are spent in the training room and in rehab and all of that, but also know that a lot of your time is spent with your academic load. You have an undergraduate degree in psychology. You're currently working on your master's degree in couples and family therapy. Tell me about what your academic load is going to look like for the summer, what that entails for you.
Yeah. In the summer, it's a little bit lighter. I'm in 6 credit hours.
Mhm.
And then just depending on my schedule, a number of clinical hours.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's definitely been a day by day,
Uh-huh.
day by day process, just managing everything. But it's definitely helped me grow in just communication and using my resources. But yeah, it's been just such a fun ride doing both. Yeah.
Good, good. Well, there's also, for those that are out there, go to www.kstatesports.com. They are doing a video series of Yoki's comeback here. They've got one little teaser out. There's going to be a couple more episodes, I believe. That's got to be probably a little strange, maybe to have a camera crew or people following you around all the time. Is that a little
Yeah.
bizarre at moments?
Yeah, it's interesting to get used to. I think my trainers and my strength coach are a little bit more
Yeah.
uncomfortable with it. I'm a little bit more used to having the interviews and all that stuff, but it's a fun time. I love our camera crew,
Uh-huh.
and they do a great job. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Okay, well, those are dropping on the Kansas State website, and I know they'll be out on social media for people to see so everybody can follow this journey. Now, I know it's probably not something that you necessarily are looking at because it is day by day. There's going to be a lot of talk as the season kicks off. The Next, I've got to give a plug out to three of my colleagues at The Next: Em Adler, Hunter Cruz, Lincoln Schaefer. They handle our WNBA draft boards. The 2024 draft board preview will be coming out this fall. Yoki's name most definitely will be on it. I know that's not necessarily something you think about, but as you look forward, um, is the professional game something that is a goal for you? Where do you see yourself maybe a year from now?
Yeah. That is a great question. Yeah, I think more so it's a goal to have that as an option,
Mhm.
um, which I know is 100% achievable. Um, yeah, I think one of the things I'm most thankful for, throughout my college career is just being able to be well-rounded, getting my master's,
Mhm.
and having success in athletics. So, Yeah, it will be a very tough decision when that time comes. And I'm not sure what that will look like, if I can do both, if I wanna do both, if by the time I'm done, if it'll be easy to make one decision or
Right.
not.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely wanting to keep just all my options open,
Mhm.
not married to any one option, especially not right now, so yeah.
And that
I
is
don't know if
that
that
is
answers your
okay.
question.
Nope,
Yeah.
that is okay. But I think the message here that we have learned from Ayoka Lee is that there is unfinished business. And that is
Yeah.
why she is coming back to Kansas State for the 23-24 season. Okay, I've got one more question for you before I let you go. Because I always like to know when I talk to coaches or players or people, outside of Bramlage, about the basketball facilities or any of those, in the training room, obviously, because I know it's probably your favorite place to be at all times right now. But what is your favorite spot on the Kansas State
Mm,
campus?
yeah. Definitely Radina's. It's a local
Okay.
coffee shop, and we
Okay.
have 3 to 4 of them on campus. We have a lot of them
Okay.
on campus. But it's just a nice homey vibe, great for
Mhm.
studying or just hanging out. But yeah, probably finding a Radina's.
And then what's your coffee of choice when you go to Radina's?
Mm. So right now it's not coffee. So I'm right now, my order is an iced green tea with sugar-free raspberry and sugar-free peach. Yeah,
Okay.
it's really yummy. Yeah, and the refills are free, so it's yeah, more bang for your buck.
Well, there we go. We just gave a
Yeah.
wonderful, rousing endorsement for Radina's on the
Yeah.
Kansas State campus, and something you can get that's very healthy, and it sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, Yoki, thank you. It has been a pleasure to talk with you. I know there are so many people in the women's basketball universe that were disheartened not to see you on the floor a year ago, but so very excited to know that this comeback is upon us, and look forward to seeing all of you and the opportunity to be able to watch you again. I know so many people are looking forward to, and I can't imagine that feeling for you when you do get a chance to actually get back out there.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, you are welcome. And everybody, thank you for joining us here on Locked On Women's Basketball. You can find me at Missy Heidrick on Twitter. As I said, make sure you go see all of my amazing colleagues at the nexthoops.com, and follow this podcast at Locked On WBB. Thank you for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen every day. For our everydayers, tomorrow on the show, more women's basketball coverage with Howard Megdal, and come back all this week, more college basketball news and notes, international basketball news and notes, and of course, some of the very best WNBA coverage anywhere. You are going to find it with us here at the Next. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful May Day, and we will see you again soon right here on Locked On Women's Basketball.